your Classic Metal Show right here on the ClassicMetalShow.com. That, of course, was Pantera. That was 13 Steps. And on the line right now is the lady that is keeping the legacy of Pantera alive, and specifically of Dimebag Darrell. It is Dime's wife, Dimebag's hag herself. It is Rita Haney. Rita, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing good, man. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Sure. Well, Rita, I before I even ask you a question, I have to tell you a quick story. I like so many people, as I'm sure you found out, knew Dime a little bit, not a lot, but I did know him when he would come to Cleveland, and I did an interview with him with all four guys in Damage Plan before the Damage Plan album came out, and it didn't go especially well. They got a little annoyed because I read some stuff to them that Phil had said. It was right at the bad point. And I read some stuff, and then they fired back and whatever. And the funny part was after the interview was done, Dime comes over to me and he goes, "We got to settle this, boy." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, he pulls over these two big amps that we did this in a studio, and he pulls over these two amps, and he climbed up on one of them, and he had me climb up on the other one, and he goes, "We're going to count to 3, and then we're going to Karate Kid each other, and whoever's left standing wins the argument." and I was like, okay. And, I'm a big boy. I'm a 300-pound guy, and I'm up there doing the Karate Kid thing, and Dime and I kicked each other off of these speakers. And and the funniest thing about it was, it's what would be expected because he's Dimebag Darrell and I'm just some dumbbell. But, everybody in the room, when Dime hits the floor, goes running to Dime. And I'm just laying there watching everybody, making sure he's okay. But it was totally funny. And I think...
Well, hey, what about me over here?
Yeah, no doubt. It was just funny. But I think it's really... For people that didn't know and only know Dime from the videos and whatnot, and I certainly by no means try to say that I knew Dime like he was a bro as much as he was really cool to me every time he came to Cleveland. He had that aura about him. And I've got to imagine for you, it's got to, while obviously his death is as tragic as anything could be, it has got to be special for you to see every single time probably that you talk to anybody that ever encountered him, it usually comes with a good story, a good memory, something funny, which has led to the Dimevision series.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, even when people come up, because they'll always say, I know you probably hear this a million times, but they don't understand that the look in someone's eye is always so different and always so special when they talk about him. And that's like my favorite part.
Sure.
Is seeing their reaction, and even, kids and people that have come up to me that, tell me, I never got a chance to see him. And I'm always so sad for them that they didn't get to experience that part, but they still have something incredible to say, whether it's about his music or what they've seen on video that's inspired them and that they play. And, it never gets old. It's so incredible. But, something that you said, as you're saying, by all means, you didn't know Don, but he was always cool to you.
Mm-hmm.
But, you did know him. I mean, what you saw in just those few minutes or moments or however long you spent,
Sure.
with him, he was a complete open book. I mean, you did know him. I mean, there wasn't anything hidden about him. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And that's kind of like what I'm hoping with the Dimevision series, because a lot of it's at home,
mm-hmm.
or at his off time and doing things, and I want people to realize what you saw on stage and the antics you saw in the Pantera home videos. That was him 24/7. He didn't have to plan that.
Sure.
He didn't have to script a reality TV show. I mean, he lived that reality show, I mean, if he was here today, good Lord, if they could just follow him around with the camera, I mean, they wouldn't need writers. So,
sure.
But yeah, that's what I'm hoping people realize, that was him 24/7. That's how he rolled out of bed.
Sure.
he saw the beauty in everything.
Right. Were there ever times for you and him where, I don't know, you hung out and you watched, TV or something, just like a normal day? Because it just doesn't seem like he had that in him to just kind of lay around and watch TV and do nothing. He always seems so energetic, so ready to do something.
No, I mean, we had all those times where we'd be sitting on the couch together and watching Forensic Files or Unsolved Mysteries or some alien shit that he would watch. Or,
right.
He was like really into like Forensic Files and murder shows and
sure.
all that kind of crazy stuff. And he'd always fall asleep. You couldn't take that boy to the movies. He'd fall asleep every time. But if you set him still too long, yeah, he got bored. So. And I was constantly, we'd have to stop and rewind stuff because he'd not narc out in it. And he's like, what just happened? I'm like, hold on. But yeah, I mean, there'd be plenty of times where it'd just be me and him, and we'd put on tunes and we'd sit and play like darts, in the front room, or play cutthroat on the pool table and just listen to music and nobody else in the house at all, Or, some of his favorite stuff to do was to wash dishes. Thank God he loved to wash dishes because I hated doing dishes. But he had this, technique. It's like if you've ever seen, like in the videos and stuff, you can kind of see the fortress. And the kitchen he called the octagon. Sure. Because a lot of times there would be a lot of wrestling matches in there, on Friday nights. And anyway, but we had this round trash can that kind of sat in the middle of the floor that you just always chunk stuff in. And he would empty that out and then fill it full of water about halfway, and he would pile all of our dishes in it. I don't see why he could do this. Because he had this really cool 3-compartment sink and a dishwasher. Yeah. And he would pull it over, and he'd pull all the dishes, pans, whatever, out of that trash can and then into the first sink and wash, rinse, into the dishwasher, and then run them through the dishwasher. But he'd get all this water all over the floor. And I'd come in and I'm like, what are you doing? And he goes, it's perfect. I got this whole plan. As these dishes are soaking in this trash can, it's cleaning the trash can. Right. And I'm thinking, okay. and then when all the water gets on the floor, when I'm finished, then I just mop the floor. And then the dishes get clean because I hand wash them, and then I run them through the dishwasher too. And I'm like, okay, all unnecessary steps, but hey, man, if it works, go ahead.
That's funny.
And he loved going grocery shopping, at 3 a.m. We always, Right. He Doug doing little simple chores like that,
Right. He probably just liked being off. I know he loved being on the road, but when he was off the road, he probably just liked to actually be off the road a little bit.
Doing normal things. Yeah. He dug it,
Sure. Now, one more question before I actually ask an interview question, but just out of sheer curiosity, and this is from another experience that I had with him. We did with the radio station, we did a meet and greet with him and Pantera for the for Official Live, I guess it was. And when we did it, they did a meet and greet, and it was fun, and it was a crazy time. But it was at a record store, and at the end of the night, once everybody had got their autographs and everybody was happy, the Dime was like, I want to pick out a couple of CDs, to take with us on the road. And I swear he took 150 CDs with him. I mean, he just went through
probably
and grabbed like everything Kiss had ever done. Like he didn't already own it, but I guess he didn't have it on that. But he even told us, he said, I don't have these on this bus. And he grabbed, it had to be 30 Kiss discs, and he's grabbing all this different music. I have always thought this, and I'm curious, and now I can finally ask and get an answer. Did he have like 1 million CDs at home, or did he not keep them?
Oh, no. He's got 1 million of them, and then, some would just get kind of destroyed, broken, worn out, whatever. Right. He was constantly replacing them. Or he'd just forget to pack certain things, You'd be out on the road, and you're like, oh, shit, man, I don't have that in my collection. Because, it wasn't like, he could carry it around in his pocket.
Right.
Then, it's so weird how so much technology has happened since, he was here, that actually for Christmas, I had ordered him his very first iPod.
Oh.
And when it came in, and I still have it, and it's still engraved it's engraved the Idol pod. Because, we would, when he was doing like the solo, it got to where he's like, all right, the Idol, and he'd do that pose. And, we made a joke and nicknamed him the Idol, And so that's why I had it engraved to say that, because I remember in their first edition iPods, they had offered free engraving,
Mm-hmm.
And, but yeah, he just need to grab another one or couldn't find it or whatever. But yeah, there's this like really huge closet. I mean, and it's like a big industrial sized closet that is just tons and tons of CDs, vinyl, and lots of duplicates of Kiss,
Right.
For sure, I'd say out of all of the music that we listen to, that one's probably got the most duplicates.
Sure,
Kiss.
No doubt. Well, Rita, obviously...
Hey, man, you can't have a Kiss party at the end of the night and sing at the top of your lungs. You got to have, all your tools. So.
Right. There's no doubt about that. Well, Rita, obviously the reason we're talking today is the new Dimevision 2, which is getting released on Metal Blade through Metal Blade Records, and for fans of Dime and of Pantera and Damage Plan or whatever they were, I would say mostly probably Pantera. It's obviously great to see these videos, and it's great to see Dime just having fun and throwing firecrackers, and the boot thing is hilarious, and there's a lot of cool stuff on it, and as a fan, it is very cool to see. But I have to imagine for you, it's an unbelievably difficult thing to put together because, obviously, as a fan, it hurts knowing that Dime is gone and the way he left. I'd imagine as his girl, as his wife, it's amplified times a million. So talk a little bit about the process, not necessarily just of putting clips together, but for you to... I'm going to imagine that you have to fight through it somewhat to put it together. Is that fair?
It is an emotional thing, definitely. But I do that, I think, on a daily basis. It's like grieving is a weird process.
Sure.
And I know you go through, I know for sure I can look back and name years. And where I'm more focused today, but gosh, at the weirdest times in the moment, like I could be at the grocery store and happen to pass the Pedialyte aisle and tear up for just no reason, when I was just fine with it, a couple days ago when I bought some. It's so, and women are strange anyway, as far as us being creatures and hormonal and all that crap. You just don't even know. So, but as far as putting the video together, the best thing is being able to sit in a room. And, it was actually approached to us about, trying to save money and do this and this and, doing it remotely, through your computer and stuff. But you just cannot capture that magic that is Dime's recipe of sitting in a room and going through these clips and putting them together with Bobby Toms.
Right.
And us bringing in Rob Finn. I mean, we were at the house, and like I said, there's like a lot of weird little funny things would happen in the house, Dimes being on the floor and just me talking about a particular photo and then going into the vinyl closet to pull out some old vinyl to give to Rob Finn, and the picture I had just been talking about shows up a copy in between two vinyl records, and we both get like goosebumps, and it's like, oh wow, how'd that get here?
Right.
I was just talking about this photo, and it's hanging on the wall in there. Just weird little things like that happened all through the whole process to where you knew he was there. Like there was one morning where I got up and came out, and I always wear, his pajamas or his boxers, when I'm home, just because I like finding them in the laundry,
Right.
And it just makes things still seem like they should be.
Sure.
And then we're sitting there and we come across this segment, and it's the CPAP segment. I'm like, holy shit, look down. I'm wearing the same flame pajama bottom of his that is in that segment, totally didn't plan it, but I mean, it's just little coincidence and things like that. But, you choke up, you feel like you're suffocating for a minute, and then he'll just do something just completely hilarious. and you just bust out laughing until you got tears rolling down your cheeks. And
Right.
it's just magical. I would not trade it for anything in the world. I love this process.
Right.
You know, of getting to, of having the honor to get to be able to do these projects.
Sure.
Because I know how good they make me feel and how much he makes me smile. And then getting to see the things that, say, Bobby shot that I wasn't there, and then him seeing things that he hadn't seen that I shot. And it's fresh. It's like he's with us. It's like he's there with you, and, you know, he's doing something that day that you've seen for the first time. So yeah, it's a magical thing.
No
Pretty
doubt.
emotional.
No doubt. Now, Rita, you've spent, you know, what, 15 years now or 14 years now doing things to keep Dime's legacy going without prostituting it, is the way I want to put it. And I'm not going to narrow in on anybody else, but there's others that have passed and it seems like they're being prostituted, where, you know, you're doing like the Dime Bash and the Ride for Dime and stuff. They sort of, I don't even know how to put it. They fit Dime's personality without just being, you're not putting out CDs of phone messages, you know, that, if that makes any sense. And what I'm curious is why you, other than if there are any reasons other than personal reasons, why it is that you've chosen to put forth these efforts to keep Dime's legacy alive. Because I mean, and again, as a fan, the Pantera, I mean, I'm the biggest fan of Pantera next to the next biggest fan of Pantera ever. You know, I mean, it's, that legacy could never die for me if there never was anything done. If there was never another Dime Bash, if there was never another Ride for Dime or a Dimevision or any of that, nothing will take Dime's playing and the performances and the fun that I got to see down from that guy. But you've really kind of made it to where it feels like it's an active legacy. And that's such a great thing that I think most people maybe don't give you enough credit for.
You know what? Thank you so much for saying that. I mean, I get the ugly bashing and the nasty stuff online too. Mm-hmm. But you know, that was something I learned from Darrell. He always told me, do not have thin skin. And he's right. You know, you can't in this. And yeah, sometimes it still hurts your feelings, but then you just go, fuck you. You know, he's my person. And that's the one thing I know I'm good at, is loving him.
Right.
And that is, you know, like I said, I get the whole privilege of getting to share stuff that I have so much of. I mean, him putting a camera in my hand and saying, film this, he wanted it for something. And I know how it makes me feel inside to have him still with me, and to have so many things like this, from notes to audio tapes to videotapes, that I know the average person doesn't have that when they lose someone.
Right.
You know, and he just gave me the most amazing life while he was here, but he still does. And I'm just so thankful that he gives me a purpose.
Sure. You know? Definitely. Now, Rita, one of the, it's not a secret. I'm gonna try and do this as it's the hard question I know you answer all the time, but
it's all right.
It's no secret that when Dime died, there was the big Phil, Vinny, Dime anger thing, and it seems just from you alone that you have, I don't know that I would say mellowed is the right word, but you've maybe come to a somewhat of a degree of acceptance where you're not on the team I hate Phil wagon anymore. You know, is that, am I reading too much into that? And if I'm not, how was it that you've been able to, I don't want to say forgive, because I don't know that that's the right word. I don't even know what the right word is for that, but I guess just been able to kind of not have it be a focal point like it seems to be for Vinny.
You know, something like that and those emotions, I mean, those guys went through so much together. They went through some of the most hilarious of times and some of the most horrendous. And at the end of the day, I mean, there's still brothers there somewhere.
Right.
And I just don't think a bond like that you can sever completely.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of, and I know to carry that around, that kind of hurt and anger is just really a lot on a person.
Right.
I mean, I know how it is for me personally. But as far as just Philip, Vince, to me, we're like two different people.
Okay.
And when I see photos of that long stringy hair, that yellow colored skin, and just that, the weight loss, and looking in those eyes, that's not the Philip I ever knew.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that person, and I don't want to know that person.
Right.
And I know when I look in his eyes now, he's the Philip I know and love, that I knew when he was 17 years old. And I know Darrell. Darrell is the most forgiving person I've ever met in my life.
Right.
I know Vinny's been in the hot seat with him. So is his own father. And, Vinny probably wouldn't even be speaking to his father today had it not been for Darrell.
Right.
Forgiveness. And I've been in that hot seat. I've made mistakes that he forgave me for completely, for 100%, no doubt, to where our lives were the best that they were ever since meeting him, since I was 8 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And, I knew I was right with him, but I know he'd look in Philip's eyes today, and Philip has come a long way from what he was then as to who he is now.
Sure.
And of course, there's still resentments and things that I know we probably will never see eye to eye on. But like you said, when you got a bond with somebody like that, you do.
Right.
Whether you want to or not.
Right. Sure.
You're kind of stuck with them.
Sure.
But I've seen Philip rise through some pretty awful ashes.
Right.
I got faith in him, and it's like you don't get to keep a lot of your family anymore. So.
Right. Sure. Does the fact that you're okay with Phil now make it difficult on your relationship either with Vince or with Dime's family, or is it something that you guys? Go ahead.
It has. It has. But I would say this year we're in a really good place.
Okay.
And I just saw Vinny at the Loudwire Awards.
Okay.
He looked great. It was a good time. Nothing like getting a big bear hug. So, and I saw Rex, of course, as well.
Sure.
And it was good. I would love one day if all those guys could jump up and on stage and belt out a few tunes, but you never know.
Right. Wow, that surprises me. And I'll tell you from my perspective, we talk about that as every rock show does, about should there be a Pantera reunion, and as somebody that saw the band at least 30 times, I've always said I didn't want to see it, just because.
Yeah, I wouldn't ever want to see someone say Pantera reunion, because without any one of those four guys, it just couldn't be.
Sure.
It took them four to be all that chaos and magic, and Darrell's the glue,
Mm-hmm.
and but I think if the circumstances were right and everybody was just someplace at the same time and you got up and you jammed the tune, it would just be killer.
Sure. Definitely. Yeah, and I'm sure you've seen it.
But like you said, as a respect factor, for Vinny's brother and for their brothers, Rex and Phil were, just because they weren't, blood, they were brothers.
Sure, definitely.
They've been for a really long time,
Definitely. Now, Rita, there are some new tracks that are offered with Dimevision 2. Where did these come from, and what can you tell us about these new tracks that are out there?
Well, I guess they're new to everybody else.
Right.
Like, for instance, the song "True," he recorded that in 1986.
Okay.
And you can tell by those really horrible Casio keyboards. But when you get past those and you really hear him just belt out, his pipes are so good on that song. You can just hear the young Dime in him,
Right.
And And Darrell always used to say, dude, I'm not a singer. God, I wish I was a singer. He always would say that about himself. And I'm like, wow, but man, you got feeling. You are. You just don't think of yourself that way,
Sure.
And just his lyrical content, what he had to write about, what the song True is, just totally embodied what kind of person that people have come to know him as, and he wrote this, like I said, in 1986. But yeah, there's tons of 4 tracks, 8 tracks,
okay,
16 tracks, just as, he grew and his studio could grow, then,
right.
It would just depend. But yeah, he was a big fan of music. He loved music. No matter what kind it was, he still found a way to have fun with it always. And he was always, whether it was a joke, something serious, something that he just needed a riff that was stuck in his head, a parody of someone else's song, he always had, sometimes Bobby had carted up to his hotel room, or he'd be in the back of the bus or in the dressing room, or just being at home.
Sure.
He had a little mini studio plus the big studio downstairs. So,
right. Definitely.
That's where they come from. But I would say between the process of the most difficult thing with going through the videos and the music is deciding what not to put, because you want to put everything.
Right.
So you have to go, no, we'll save this one. But, and it's the process of trying to narrow it down. What the first 5 were going to be was probably the hardest part.
Right. Definitely.
But, yeah, hopefully, if everybody gets out and supports this campaign and it does well, and we prove the industry wrong, that there's still a demand for this old school DVD package, then we've got another one in the works.
Very cool. Excellent. So Rita, aside from buying the new Dimevision 2, which everybody should do, because if you liked any of the Pantera videos or the original Dimevision, you're gonna like this one as well. It's just fun, and some of the antics.
Yeah, it's a lot more uplifting, more upbeat, like back to kind of the old Dime recipe
Sure.
with the Pantera home videos.
Mm-hmm.
Where the first volume was a little more melancholy and slower because of the time that what had just happened,
right,
and everything. But I really think everybody will dig this one. I still, one of my most favorite parts is at the very first, the intro of Darrell talking to himself, and what he has to say just gives you goosebumps.
Right. Well, I got to say, and I don't want to give away much of the DVD because I do want people to go out and buy it, but my favorite part, and it'll probably surprise you, my favorite part was him dealing with the Girl Scouts. That's just hilarious. And the lady's like, really? You want 100 boxes? And he's like, yeah, I love those things. I love those.
And it's funny because the dime time being 3:33,
right.
Anything with the number 3, and it just keeps going on. So, every time that, anything would pop up about it or a multiple of 3,
right,
we'd throw in that 3, 3, 3.
Right.
So, yeah. But, that's kind of how there would be times where I would wake up, say on a Sunday morning or Saturday morning, and be like, okay, where's Darrell? He's not in bed. Let me go out here and because I try to clear the house out, because if he woke up and found a playmate, he was on fire again,
Right.
And so I'd go out and I'd find where he had ordered pizza, or I'd get a phone call that would wake me up, and it'd be Domino's Pizza going, hey, Rita, it's so-and-so from Domino's, and are my delivery guys there? I sent them out about an hour ago, and I'm like, let me go see. And sure enough, he'd have them in the kitchen doing shots with him, going, that's cool, here's $100, here's $100, you guys stay here and hang out with me today. And so I go, okay, your boss called, it's time for y'all to go back, I'm up. So, but yeah, and same like the Girl Scout cookies coming, or, even in, like the phone guy that's in the Pantera home videos. That was the guy who came out from the phone company that was putting in the studio phone lines. And he, Darrell just had a way of all of a sudden making you star in your own movie. I know that another time that he got one of the Dish Network guys fired because I came out and found him with this whole jug of bleach. I'm like trying to do laundry, wondering why I have no bleach left. And he's out there making the Dish van guy burn them off in the driveway while they videoed him. And the guy was drunk and wound up getting down the road about, a block or two and had a flat tire. So, so it was kind of like beware as you came to our house. You know, you might not leave in one piece. So.
Sure. Too funny. Well, Rita, obviously we need to get this one wrapped up, but Dimevision 2, it is going to be available on Metal Blade Records, or through Metal Blade Records. Outside of the obvious purchasing the DVD, what is the best way to support your continued work with Dime's legacy?
You can get a lot of information from our Ride for Dime website, because that'll list, what events and things that we're going to do for charity next year. And, I know that, we have a page just for Darrell himself, so we'll be putting up some merch there. But really right now, the way you can help out and support is to support the campaign. Is just to go over to the Pledge Music site and see all the goodies and the things that we have up there that are available that you can have and purchase and make your own, and you can then go home and make your own DVD,
Sure.
So yeah, definitely that's like the best way, and just, to come out and support our nonprofit organization. It's great.
Excellent. Well, Rita, as a tradition on the show, we always let the interviewee pick a track and maybe tell us a story about it.
Good.
So what would you like us to wrap this one up with, and maybe tell us a quick story about it?
Let's see. I'm going to say Regular People.
Okay.
I did that song. Story-wise, I really don't have one. I've listened to that song a lot of times driving around back in the day, and I'm not saying anyone should be driving around and partying in their car, but back in the day, you could get away with it.
Right.
And, Darrell and I, when they were first doing that CD, I remember loaded up in his truck, and we used to just drive around and just listen to the tracks and jam them and maybe drop some acid or, trip on some shrooms at that time. And,
right.
And Regular People was just one of those tunes that would get it moved you. And we drove by the junior high, and school was, it was about to be in session, and we were still up, headed home, and I remember pulling up out front of Gun Junior High and him just blasting it in his truck, and all these kids, the bell rang and the teachers were coming over, and they're all just out there jumping up and down going, hey man, you guys got to go. The kids won't go into school. And I was like, well, there you are. There's your first reaction to how people are going to react to this. But that's kind of one of my favorite things was driving around and listening to that record. So
no doubt. Well, let's check it out right now. It is Pantera. It's Regular People right here on your Classic Metal Show.